The Enchanted Prince, the power of intentional sight. The kingdom of Aurelia was famous for two things: its sun-bleached marble towers and its profound sense of melancholy. Both were tied to the fate of Prince Kale, who had, a decade ago, disappeared during a hunt and returned days later, silent, cold, and transformed into the most beautiful, tragic sculpture anyone had ever seen. The figure, known simply as the Marble Prince, stood in the center of the palace's great courtyard, a flawless specimen of frozen human despair. Maria worked in the royal archives, a sprawling, echoing vault of ancient knowledge nestled in the lowest wing of the castle. She was a scholar of the forgotten, meticulous and observant, but fiercely alone. Her days were spent handling brittle parchment and deciphering dead languages, a job that frequently kept her awake long past the time the last century had passed and the moon had claimed the courtyard. It was during one such late night, while pursuing a cross-reference for a long-lost treaty, that Maria saw it. She glanced out the narrow, high window overlooking the great courtyard. The marble statue of Prince Kale, rigid, silent, and supposedly immovable, had shifted. His left hand, which had rested upon a heavy bronze sword hilt for 10 years, was now slightly raised, palm open, as if reaching for the moonlight. Maria, a woman who trusted scrolls more than her own senses, dismissed it as shadow play. She returned to her work, but the image lingered. The next night she waited. As the moon climbed to its zenith, silver light flooding the empty square, the marble skin of the statue began to soften, like ice thawing underwater. The cold, polished stone turned to warm, living flesh, and Prince Kale, handsome but impossibly weary, stepped down from the plinth. The enchantment was simple, yet cruel. By day, he was a prisoner of stone. By night, he was free to move within the perimeter of the courtyard's walls, but every morning, he would return to stone and lose all memory of his nocturnal existence. Maria crept out to the courtyard, hiding behind a sculpted hedge. She watched the prince, who was now fully human. He spent his time pacing the same 40 square feet, his frustration palpable. "It is not about a kiss or a riddle," Kale muttered to the stones one night, his voice rich with forgotten sorrow. "It is a cruel irony. The sorcerer wanted me to learn to cherish the common world, but ensures I never retain a single moment of observation. Every sunset, I am reborn empty, and every sunrise, I die forgetting why I live." Maria realized the true nature of his curse. It wasn't physical, it was mnemonic. Kale was enchanted to remain eternally ignorant of the daily, unglamorous truths of his kingdom, forcing him to rely only on the shallow, historical texts supplied by the king's advisors. The prince desperately wanted to break the curse. He was obsessed with finding the external catalyst, the specific magical herb, the precise word, the legendary artifact that would free him. Maria, the scholar, saw the pattern. The magic demanded intentional sight, but Kale only used his freedom to look inward at his problem. Maria knew she had to intervene, but not by finding a magical key. She had to anchor his memory, not with magic, but with evidence, the tangible reality he was so desperate to forget. The first step was observing the visible sign of the curse's progress. As Kale paced, Maria noticed a faint, silver-gray dust clinging to his boots. On the plinth, where his feet rested, the stone glowed with a faint, malevolent cyan light, confirming that the transformation into permanent stone was slowly, inexorably crawling up his body. Maria calculated, at the current rate, the stone would reach his heart by the next equinox. Maria began her work. She couldn't tell the prince the truth. He would simply forget it by dawn. Instead, she became the keeper of his night. Each morning, before the sun touched the horizon, she would slip into the courtyard and leave a small, tightly sealed clay jar hidden beneath the pedestal. Inside the jar were two things: the day's record, a single, meticulously drawn sketch of a detail Kale missed, or a written account of a vital daily event he should know about. The night's question, a simple, specific query about his own state or the curse, meant to focus his brief nocturnal intellect. The first few nights were frustrating. Kale found the jar, read the note, and was momentarily intrigued. But he focused on finding a magical significance to the jar, not the information it contained. Maria's first note: the head guard, Sir Valerius, confiscated a basket of apples from the market woman today, claiming they were contraband, and gave them to his dog. Kale's reaction: he searched the courtyard walls, thinking the apples were part of a spell component. By morning, he forgot the note entirely. The marble crept to his ankles. Maria changed her strategy. She stopped focusing on the event and started focusing on empathy. Maria's 100th note: the tailor's daughter, Lisbeth, stitched a small, gray patch onto your marble thumb today, thinking the stone was cold and lonely. She used a needle that she broke in the process, which will mean her father loses the commission he needs for her medicine. Kale's reaction: that night, this time, Kale didn't look for magic. He stared at his hand. He understood the sacrifice. For the first time, the memory was tied not to a clue, but to a feeling. He used his precious hour of freedom to carve a tiny, perfect marble flower from a loose chip of the plinth and placed it where the broken needle had been. When Maria checked the jar the next morning, the flower was gone, but the silver dust at his ankles had receded slightly. The curse responded to selfless intent. Kale, nightly, continued to read the archivist's log. Maria described the true decay of the kingdom: the failing water mills the king ignored, the unjust tax laws that crushed the peasantry, and the palace advisors' blatant embezzlement, which everyone saw but no one dared report. Maria wrote these truths not to indict, but to anchor his heart to the burdens of his people. The equinox arrived early. The marble had reached Kale's chest. He only had a few more nights left. On their final night together, Maria revealed herself. She approached Kale, who stood ready for the sun, his eyes filled with the terrible knowledge of impending, permanent oblivion. The sorcerer's riddle is not written in a book, Prince Kale, Maria said, holding the final journal. It is written on the plinth beneath your feet. I found the inscription only moments ago. It says, the marble must commit to the dawn of the forgotten, regardless of the self. Commit? Kale's voice was hoarse. How? I will forget by morning. I cannot take an oath. The moment the sun touches me, my mind is blank and my freedom is gone. The enchantment always wins. Then you must commit without expecting freedom, Maria pleaded. The magic demands that you value the sight of the forgotten, the suffering you learned from my journals, more than you value your own life or your own memory. You must make a vow right now not to be free, but to fulfill your duty to them, even if you are stoned forever. At that moment, the king's master sorcerer, a man named Farron, the one who placed the curse, stepped from the shadows. He had anticipated this moment. The prince's heart is nearly stone, little mouse, Farron hissed, waving his hand. 1 more hour of daylight and the curse is permanent. He will never rule, and I will be king in all but name. Farron raised his hand, preparing a blast of energy to accelerate the marble's rise. Maria didn't hesitate. She threw herself in front of Kale, shielding him. You will not take his potential, she cried, not for love, but for the future of Ethel. He is the only one who truly sees the people. Kale looked down at Maria, who had sacrificed her safety, her secret, and her life for the mere hope that he would become a good ruler. He knew he would turn to stone. He knew he would forget Maria. He knew he would forget the fear, the pain, and the moonlight. Kale spoke, not to Maria, but to the marble plinth beneath his feet. His voice was steady, resonant with the weight of true, selfless duty. Let the stone consume me, Kale stated. Let my mind be eternally blank. But let my statue stand here as a permanent, silent reminder to the court of the suffering I learned this night. I commit my mind, my body, and my final memory to the burdens of the forgotten. I will serve them, even in silence. The moment the unconditional vow left his lips, the commitment of duty over desire, the cyan light on the plinth didn't climb, it shattered. Farron screamed as his magical energy recoiled, striking him instead of the prince. He vanished in a puff of acrid smoke, his power broken by the one thing he couldn't control, a commitment made without expectation of reward. Kale felt a blinding rush of sensation, the smell of the night air, the cool smoothness of the moonlit marble, and the overwhelming, vibrant memory of every single page Maria had written. The curse was broken. The marble statue remained for a single, final moment, then disintegrated into white powder, leaving Prince Kale standing, fully human and fully conscious. He was not just free, he was informed. Maria rose, weak but whole. Kale did not embrace her. Instead, he took the final, most crucial journal she had written, tucked it beneath his arm, and walked toward the palace doors, the doors he had been unable to pass for 10 years. "Thank you, Maria," he said, his voice now imbued with the authority of knowledge. "You have not given me my life back. You have given me a kingdom worth living for." The lesson of the Enchanted Prince was clear. Freedom is merely the absence of chains. True purpose is the presence of duty. Prince Kale, who had once valued his royal identity above all else, was only freed when he found the capacity to sacrifice that identity for the sake of his people. He ruled Ethel not from the throne, but from the archives, always keeping Maria's journals, the record of the forgotten, as the source of his true, unbreakable vision. Please subscribe the channel to get more videos and like the video. Thank you.